I still remember the sound of the doorbell that night. It was soft at first, almost unsure, as if the person standing outside my house was afraid of waking me. But it was midnight. No one visits at that hour. And in our neighborhood, even the dogs are asleep by then. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the cold cup of tea in front of me. I had been unable to sleep again. My thoughts kept wandering back to my husband, Daniel. It had been 3 months since he passed away. Yet the house still felt like it belonged to him. His slippers were still next to our bed. His jacket still hung near the door. His scent still lingered in the corners of our home, like a quiet memory that refused to fade. So when the doorbell rang, my heart jumped. Not out of fear, but out of that strange, empty feeling that comes when your world is so quiet that even the smallest sound feels huge. I stood up slowly, my chair sliding softly against the tiled floor, and walked toward the front door. The hallway was dark, but I knew the path well. My hands were trembling a little, and for a moment, I wondered if grief could make sounds feel heavier, or if I was simply too tired, too lonely. When I opened the door, I saw no one standing there. Only a small cardboard box. Square. Plain. Brown. Placed right in the center of the doormat, as if someone had taken careful time to position it perfectly. I looked left. I looked right. But the street was silent. The lamps cast long shadows on the pavement, and the night felt completely still. A strange coldness ran through my arms. I knelt down and picked up the box. It was light, far too light for something being delivered at midnight. There was no address, no sender name, no stamp, nothing. Just my first name written in small, neat handwriting. Lena. That handwriting. It was familiar. Too familiar. My breath caught. My hands tightened around the box. My heart began to beat in a slow, heavy rhythm I couldn't control. Because that handwriting. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories that touch the heart and remind us of life's quiet miracles, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It truly helps our little storytelling family grow. It looked like Daniel's. For 3 seconds, I couldn't move. The world around me felt like it had stopped breathing. Then, with the box held against my chest, I walked back inside and closed the door gently, as if any loud sound might break something delicate around me. I placed the box on the kitchen table, next to my untouched tea, and sat down again. The house felt even quieter now. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the small clock on the wall, my own breathing, uneven and shallow. I stared at the box. I should have opened it right away. But grief changes the way you do things. Sometimes it slows you down. Sometimes it makes you hesitate, not because you're afraid of what you will find, but because you're afraid of what you might feel. I touched the edges of the box. My fingers slid across the tape top. The handwriting on the front remained clear, simple, unmistakable. It was Daniel's. A tear rolled down my cheek before I even realized I was crying. I whispered softly to myself, "Daniel, what is this?" It made no sense. Daniel had passed away. I was the one who held his hand in the hospital during his final moments. I was the one who signed the papers. I was the one who sat beside him when his breathing slowed, when his eyes gently closed, when his fingers loosened their grip on mine. There was no possibility, no chance, that he could send me a box tonight. But grief does strange things to a person's mind. Sometimes you believe something just because you want to. Sometimes you see what your heart aches to see. After a long minute, I pulled the box toward me and opened it carefully. The tape peeled off with a soft tearing sound that echoed far louder than it should have in that silent kitchen. Inside, wrapped in a piece of white tissue paper, was something small and metallic. My breath trembled as I reached in and lifted it. It was a ring. Daniel's wedding ring. The same ring I watched the nurse remove from his hand. The same ring I kept in my dresser drawer, because I could not bear to look at it. But here it was again. In my hands. Cool against my skin. Shining softly under the dim kitchen light. And beneath it, folded neatly, was a short handwritten note. My heart whispered in disbelief. I unfolded it slowly, very slowly. The handwriting was shaky, yet familiar enough to make my chest tighten. Only one sentence was written. You deserve to know the truth. That was it. No name. No explanation. Just that. I sat back in my chair. The room spun slightly, and I had to close my eyes for a moment. I felt as if the floor beneath me had shifted, as if the world was becoming something I didn't recognize. Daniel's ring. His handwriting. A box at midnight. A message about a truth I deserved to know. A strange heaviness settled in my chest. It was not fear. It was something deeper. Something older. A feeling that perhaps the story I believed for the last 3 months was not the real story at all. I held the ring tightly in my palm. My mind drifted back to the day Daniel and I got married. How he slipped this very ring onto his finger, his hands shaking with joy. How he whispered, "Forever, Lena," with a smile that reached his eyes. And now that same ring had returned to me in a way I could never have expected. In a way that made no sense. In a way that opened a question I was not prepared for. What truth? I leaned back in my chair and looked at the clock on the wall. It was 12:17 a.m. The house was quiet again. But I knew one thing for sure. Whatever this box meant, whatever truth was hidden behind this message, my life was about to change. And as much as I wished I could stay in the quiet world I had built after losing Daniel, I also knew something deep inside me was waking up. A feeling I hadn't allowed myself to feel for months. Curiosity, hope, fear, confusion, all mixed together in a way that made my heart beat faster. I placed the ring on the table gently and whispered into the empty kitchen. Daniel, what did you want me to know? Rain began to fall outside, soft and steady. It tapped gently on the windows, like a distant reminder that the world continues moving even when your heart stands still. I wiped my tears with the back of my hand and folded the note again. I didn't know who had delivered the box. I didn't know why it came at midnight. And I didn't know what truth it hinted at. But I knew I could not ignore it. Not anymore. As I sat there, listening to the rain and feeling the quiet weight of the message, I realized something. This was not the end of my story with Daniel. This was the beginning of a truth I had never imagined. The rain did not stop that night. It kept falling, steady and gentle, the kind of rain that makes you remember things you tried hard to forget. I sat at the kitchen table with the box still open in front of me. Daniel's wedding ring lay there, quiet and unmoving, yet it carried so much weight that I felt my chest grow tight again. I knew I needed to breathe. I knew I needed to take a step back from the shock. So I did what I always do when the world feels too heavy. I closed my eyes. Whenever I close my eyes, memories come to me slowly, like soft waves touching the shore. They don't rush. They don't shout. They arrive gently. And that night, the first memory that came was the day I met Daniel. It was a warm afternoon in late spring. I was working in a small cafe near the town square. Daniel walked in wearing a faded blue shirt, holding a newspaper under his arm, and smiling as if the world had no darkness in it at all. He came to the counter, looked at the menu, then at me, and asked, "What do you recommend?" His voice had a calm tone that made people feel safe, even if they were strangers. I told him to try the lemon cake. He smiled, shrugged softly, and said, "I'll trust your taste." He kept coming back after that. Not every day, but often enough that I started to look for him whenever the doorbell chimed. He would sit by the window, look outside, and pretend he was reading. But I knew he was watching me from time to time. And when I caught him, he would just smile quietly, as though he was embarrassed but happy. We fell in love slowly. Not in a dramatic way, but in the way two kind souls find gentle comfort in each other. He used to say, "Lena, everything about you feels peaceful." And I used to answer, "Because you are the calm in my life." We got married 2 years later, in a simple ceremony at a small church. No big decorations. No long guest list. No noise. Just us, close friends, and a warm sun shining through the stained glass. I remember looking at him during our vows, and he looked at me like he was already promising the rest of his life through his eyes alone. That memory still warms me even now. After our wedding, life became quiet and steady. We moved into the house I now live in, the house with the soft yellow walls, the small kitchen with the old clock, the living room where we used to spend Sunday afternoons reading. Daniel loved reading. Mostly history, sometimes biographies. I preferred novels and stories, but we always talked about what we were reading. It became a habit, almost like a ritual. We never had children of our own. Not because we didn't want to, life simply didn't give us that gift. But we found happiness in other ways. Our nieces and nephews loved visiting us, and we spoiled them in every way we could. Our little world was not perfect, but it was full of the quiet kind of love that grows stronger with time, like old vines on a wall. So sitting in that kitchen, 3 months after losing him, was still painful. Every corner of the house whispered his name. Every object felt like part of him. And now that box, that ring, that message, they stirred the silence inside me. I needed to understand, but I also needed to steady myself first. So I breathed deeply and let another memory come. Daniel's illness. It didn't happen suddenly. Illness rarely does. The first sign appeared one morning when Daniel came home from work earlier than usual. I could tell something was wrong from the way he walked, slower, more tired. He sat at the kitchen table and pressed his fingers against his temples. "What's wrong?" I asked. He shook his head lightly. "Nothing serious. Just a headache." But the headaches returned. Then fatigue. Then small lapses in concentration. Then the quiet fear behind his eyes. By the time he finally agreed to see a doctor, I already knew something deeper was wrong. The diagnosis came after several tests. A neurological condition. Serious but unclear at first. One of those conditions where the doctors don't say everything directly, but their eyes tell you more than their words. Daniel stayed strong. He always was strong. He used to say, "Lena, we will walk through this together, step by step." And I believed him. Of course I did. He was the man who carried the sky for me. For the first few months, things stayed manageable. He took medication. He rested more. We made small changes in our lifestyle. But slowly, quietly, he began to fade. Not in personality, never in spirit, but in health. The day he forgot where he had placed his keys was the first day I cried in private. It was a small thing, but Daniel was always careful, always organized. Seeing him confused broke something inside me. He tried to hide his struggle from me for a long time. He didn't want me to worry. He always tried to protect me, even when he was the one who needed protection. But illness has a way of uncovering truths you try to hide. Eventually, he had to stop working. Eventually, the medication became stronger. Eventually, the hospital visits grew more frequent. Eventually, he began to speak less. And then one day, after a long visit, the doctor sat with us and spoke softly, using calm but honest words. I remember Daniel squeezing my hand. I remember my heart sinking. I remember trying to smile at him, even though my eyes were filled with tears. He whispered, "I'm sorry, Lena." And I whispered back, "Don't be. We're together. That's enough." We walked through that final year slowly, gently, and with as much peace as we could find. Daniel never wanted to talk about the end. He always said, "There is still more time." But time doesn't listen to hope. Family complications. During Daniel's illness, his family became more involved. At first, it felt supportive. His sister, her husband, their grown children, they checked in, cooked meals, visited often. But as his condition worsened, something changed. Especially with Sarah, his niece. She was married, young, opinionated, and sometimes too bold for her own good. She cared about Daniel, but she also believed she knew what was best for everyone. She visited often, but her visits always came with suggestions, then criticism, then judgment. Lena, you need to make sure he rests more. Lena, are you giving him the right things to eat? Lena, why did the doctor say he missed a dose? And if I showed even the smallest sigh of exhaustion, she would look at me with an expression that made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. One afternoon, when Daniel was napping, she said quietly, "You know, maybe he should stay with us for a while. Our house is bigger. We can take better care of him." I tried to smile. I tried to stay calm. But inside, the suggestion hurt. "He belongs here," I said gently. "Here is his home." She didn't respond. She only looked at me with a thoughtful expression that I didn't understand at the time. As the months passed, she began to treat me like I was fragile, or irresponsible, or perhaps both. She would speak to the doctors without telling me, ask questions behind my back, offer to manage Daniel's medications, bring her mother to help but make decisions without consulting me. Daniel noticed. Even when his strength was almost gone, he noticed. One night, he held my hand and whispered, "Don't let anyone make you feel small, Lena. You know me best." That sentence still echoes in me today. But what hurt me most was not her interference. It was the change in her tone after Daniel passed away. At the funeral, Sarah cried loudly. Too loudly. She hugged me but looked at me with eyes full of something I couldn't explain. Maybe pity, maybe blame, or maybe something deeper. I couldn't tell. But after the funeral, she stopped visiting, stopped calling, stopped checking in, as if Daniel's passing had removed her connection to me completely. Yet now, with this mysterious box and the strange message, a small, unsettling thought entered my mind. Could someone in the family be involved? No, that didn't feel right. Not yet. Not without more understanding. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Something I had overlooked. Something Daniel wanted me to know. Back to the present. I opened my eyes again and found myself still sitting at the kitchen table, with the rain falling softly outside. The ring lay in the center of the table, and the note rested beside it like a tiny whisper beckoning me closer. You deserve to know the truth. The handwriting, that familiar, gentle handwriting, kept replaying in my mind. Was it really his? Could it be a copy? Could someone else have written it? The questions circled inside my mind like soft ripples in calm water. I stood up and walked to the living room. The house felt cold, though the heater was running. Or maybe the coldness was coming from somewhere inside me. I opened Daniel's old wooden box, the one he kept on the bookshelf. Inside were small things he loved. His old watch, a few letters from years ago, a small pen with a gold tip, a faded photograph of his parents, and tucked neatly at the bottom, a birthday card he wrote to me 2 years before he got sick. I pulled it out gently. The handwriting inside the card whispered the same warmth I always felt from him. And then my heart stopped for a second, because the handwriting in the birthday card and the handwriting in the midnight note, they were the same. Not similar. Not close. Not nearly alike. The same. The same loops in the letters. The same curves. The same soft pressure. The same way he wrote my name. A shiver ran up my spine. My fingers trembled slightly as I held both papers side by side. If someone forged it, they would have needed to study his handwriting perfectly. But why would anyone do that? And how would they get the ring from my drawer without me noticing? But if it was Daniel's handwriting, then no, I couldn't let my mind go to impossible places. I forced myself to breathe slowly, deeply, calmly. There had to be a logical explanation. There always is, even when grief tries to convince you otherwise. But one thing was certain now. This was not a prank. Not a coincidence. Not a mistake. Someone wanted me to find that ring. Someone wanted me to receive that message. Someone wanted me to know something. Something Daniel had not told me while he was alive. And that truth, whatever it was, had been delivered to me at midnight, with his ring inside a box. I closed the card carefully and placed both the note and the ring inside the empty box. I didn't know what to do next. Should I call someone? Should I ask the neighbors if they saw anything? Should I wait? Should I try to sleep? My heart whispered a quiet answer. Start with the past. Understand him. Then you will understand the message. I sat back on the sofa and let the memories continue, not rushing them, just allowing them to arrive one by one. The early years, the quiet evenings, his slow decline, the family tensions, the unspoken things between us. Maybe hidden in those memories, there was a clue I had forgotten. As the rain softened outside, I wrapped a blanket around myself and whispered softly into the dim room. Daniel, I'm listening. Tell me what you want me to know. And for a moment, only a moment, I felt as if the room breathed with me, as if the air shifted gently, as if something unseen was standing close. The rain had stopped by morning, but the sky remained gray, as if the world was still undecided about what kind of day it wanted to give me. I woke up with a heavy feeling in my chest. Not fear, not exactly sadness, but something like a quiet knot forming slowly inside me. The box from last night was still on the kitchen table. Every time I looked at it, the room felt different, quieter, more alert, as though the house itself was waiting for me to understand something. I poured a cup of tea, but I barely tasted it. My eyes kept pulling toward the box, toward Daniel's wedding ring lying inside it. I knew I wouldn't be able to move on with my day until I tried to understand what was happening. So I sat down, took a deep breath, and whispered, "All right, Daniel. Show me." Sometimes speaking aloud helps me feel less alone. The first inconsistency. I started with the simplest question. Why was his ring missing? I had placed it in my dresser drawer 3 months ago, wrapped in a soft piece of cloth. I had closed the drawer carefully. I remembered that moment clearly because I cried afterward. The ring was the last object taken off his body. Having it in my hands felt like touching the final moment of his life again. So how did it end up in a box at my door? I walked into the bedroom, opened my dresser drawer, and gently moved the folded clothes until I reached the small cloth bundle. It was empty. My fingers trembled. My heart squeezed tightly inside my chest. I had been alone in the house for the last 3 months. No visitors. No family staying over. No service people entering. No one but me. So the ring couldn't have disappeared without my knowing. Unless someone else had access. The thought unsettled me deeply. I walked back to the kitchen with the empty cloth in my hand. As I stood there staring at it, I tried to think calmly. Who had been in the house in the final weeks of Daniel's life? His family. Sarah. Her mother. A few nurses. Our neighbor once or twice. But after Daniel passed, no one came inside. No one. Unless they had a key. I looked toward the small drawer near the door. The one where we kept spare keys. There used to be 2 copies there. One for us, and an emergency one for my sister. I checked the drawer. Only one key was there. The emergency one was missing. My breath caught. I sat down again, feeling the weight of something shifting inside my heart. Had someone entered the house without telling me? But why? And when? And for what reason? I leaned back and rubbed my temples, trying to stay calm. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I needed facts. And I needed to remember Daniel's strange visits in the final weeks. As I sat there, a memory surfaced, one I hadn't thought about for months. 2 weeks before Daniel passed away, he had a moment of clarity. It was early morning. The sun was rising softly, painting the room with a warm golden glow. He woke up and asked me, "Lena, where is my ring?" I remember freezing. His ring had been removed in the hospital weeks earlier. The doctor had given it to me with gentle hands. and I had kept it safe. I told him gently, "It's here with me. Don't worry." But Daniel shook his head. "No, my ring. The one I left somewhere." At the time, I thought he was confused. His illness often made him forget things, or mix up memories. So I stroked his hand and whispered softly, "Your ring is safe." He closed his eyes and let the moment pass. But now, sitting at the kitchen table months later, the memory felt different. What ring had he been talking about? Not the one from his finger, but something he believed he left somewhere. A strange, cold thought moved through me. Was there another ring? Or had he hidden something? The moment made me feel as though I had walked into a memory that held a clue, one I couldn't fully understand yet. Daniel's locked drawer. Later that afternoon, I walked into Daniel's old study, a small room with a wooden desk, a bookshelf, and a window that looked out into the backyard. I hadn't opened the desk since he passed. I had dusted around it, but I never pulled out the drawers. I wasn't ready back then. But now, the midnight message had changed something. When I sat in his chair, I felt a quiet ache inside me. I traced my fingers over the edge of the desk, remembering how often Daniel sat here, reading or writing quietly while I made dinner or watered the garden. His desk had 5 drawers, 4 opened easily, but the small top left drawer was locked. I stared at it for a long moment. Daniel never kept secrets from me. At least, I believed he didn't. But that drawer had always been locked, even before he got sick. I just never questioned it. Maybe it was time. I checked the obvious places for a key, inside the pencil holder, under the desk mat, inside the book stand. Nothing. I tried opening it with a small hairpin, but it didn't budge. The lock was old, sturdy, and clearly meant to stay closed. The only place I hadn't checked yet was Daniel's coat. The coat that still hung near the front door. The coat I had not touched since the last time he came home wearing it. My heart whispered, maybe now is the time. I stood up, walked slowly to the hallway, and reached for the coat. It felt heavier than I remembered. Or maybe that was just emotion sitting on my shoulders. Inside the left pocket, I found a tissue and an old grocery receipt. Inside the right pocket, I found a small metal key. My breath trembled. I held the key in my palm for a moment. Not everything hurts because of sadness. Sometimes things hurt because they reveal what we didn't know. I walked back to the study, sat again in Daniel's chair, and unlocked the drawer. The moment it clicked open, a cold shiver ran up my arms. Inside the drawer were several items. A folded envelope, a small notebook, a USB flash drive, a photograph, and a keychain with a symbol I didn't recognize. For a long moment, I did not move. I only stared at the objects, each of them quietly waiting for me to reach for them. I picked up the photograph first. It showed Daniel standing with a woman I did not recognize. She was younger than him, perhaps in her 30s. They were both smiling. Not a casual smile, a comfortable, familiar smile. My heart skipped a beat. I touched the photograph gently. "Who are you?" I whispered to the woman in the picture. Daniel had never mentioned her. Not once. A soft discomfort grew inside my chest, but I didn't want to assume anything. So I placed the photograph aside and opened the notebook. Inside were short notes from the final year of his life, doctor appointments, reminders, medication lists, but also personal thoughts, written in his gentle handwriting. One entry stopped me. "If something happens to me before I speak to Lena, she will need to know." Everything is written in the envelope. I froze. My hand covered my mouth as tears formed in my eyes. Daniel had been keeping something from me. Not out of betrayal, but out of fear, or guilt, or maybe protection. My fingers shook as I reached for the envelope. The envelope. It was sealed. My name was written on the front. Lena. I held it for a long moment, feeling its weight. Not the physical weight, the emotional weight. Daniel had written something for me. Something important. something he hadn't been able to tell me before he passed away. I opened the envelope gently, terrified that whatever was inside might change everything I believed. Inside was a letter, handwritten, long, and filled with Daniel's familiar curves and loops. My eyes blurred with tears as I unfolded it. I took a deep breath and began reading. My dearest Lena, if you are reading this, it means I was not strong enough to tell you in person. Please forgive me. I never wanted to hide anything from you, but I needed to understand everything first. I didn't want to hurt you. There is something from my past that I thought I had left behind, but it returned. And before I go, I want you to know the truth. My heart pounded gently in my chest. I wiped my tears so I could continue reading. Many years before we met, before the cafe, before the lemon cake, before our home, I made a mistake. A deep one. And I hurt someone without meaning to. Her name was Emily. We were together for a short time, but during that time, something happened that changed her life. And I didn't know. I paused. The room felt smaller. The air felt heavier. Emily. The name meant nothing to me. But the woman in the photograph, was that her? I continued reading. I found out much later, years later, that she had a child. My child. A daughter. I tried to reach out, but she did not want anything from me. She made that very clear. She wanted to raise her daughter without me. And I respected that. My breath caught. Daniel had a child? A daughter? My hands trembled so badly I had to set the letter down for a moment. So much of Daniel's life before me had been quiet, peaceful, simple. He never hid anything from me. But this was different. This was life-changing. A part of him he never shared. But why? Why didn't he tell me earlier? Why did he wait until he was dying? I picked up the letter again. I needed to understand. I tried to forget. I tried to move on. And then I met you, Lena. You brought peace into my life. You healed things inside me without even knowing. I didn't want to bring my past into our marriage. I didn't want our life to carry the shadow of my mistake. I wiped another tear. This was exactly like Daniel. Always protecting others, even if it meant carrying pain alone. The next lines tightened my chest. But as I grew sicker, I knew I needed to find her. Not for myself. For you. I wanted you to know who she is. In case something happens to her one day. In case she ever needs help. In case she ever comes looking for me. Or for you. I stared at that sentence for a long time. In case she ever comes looking for me. Or for you. A quiet shiver moved through me. Then another line struck me even harder. Her name is on the USB. Everything I could not tell you in person, it is all there. I looked at the USB stick on the desk. It sat there silently, holding something I was not sure I was ready to face. I placed the letter down gently and closed my eyes. Daniel had a daughter. A daughter he never got to know. A daughter who might still be alive. A daughter who might have come looking for him. And suddenly, a strange thought entered my mind. The midnight delivery. The ring. The message. You deserve to know the truth. Could it be her? Had his daughter found me? I opened my eyes slowly. This was no longer just about grief. This was becoming a mystery Daniel had left behind. A truth I was only beginning to understand. The conflict had risen around me like a tide. Quiet, unstoppable, and deeply emotional. I could not sleep that night. I kept hearing the quiet echo of my daughter's voice in my mind. And then the words the delivery man had whispered at the gate. He said you would understand. But I did not understand. Not then. Not even a little. I sat on the edge of my bed, the house wrapped in silence, and the small wooden box still resting on my bedside table. The lid was closed now, but it felt like it was breathing. Like something inside it was waiting for me. I touched the lid with trembling fingers. My husband's wedding ring. The same one he never took off, even on the hardest days of our marriage. Why was it in a box? Why was it sent to me? And why, at midnight? I closed my eyes and tried to breathe slowly, the way the therapist had taught me after he passed. But something inside me said, "This is not ordinary. Something is here. Something hidden." I reached for the box again and I opened it. Inside, beneath the ring, I noticed a folded piece of paper I had not seen before. It was tucked into the lining, thin and faded like it had been pressed there for months. My heart froze. I lifted it with my fingertips. It felt cold. A small handwritten note. 3 lines. Familiar handwriting. My husband's handwriting. I had to steady myself against the bed before reading it. I finally unfolded it. And it said, "Forgive them. Take care of our daughter. And remember, I never left you." My breath caught in my throat. I did not understand what he meant. I did not know who I was supposed to forgive. I did not know why he wrote this. And most of all, I did not know why it felt like he had written it long before he died. I pressed the letter to my chest and cried. Silent tears. The kind that fall without effort, like rain that has been waiting in the clouds for days. That was when I heard a soft knock on my bedroom door. "Mom, are you awake?" It was my daughter. I wiped my face quickly and tried to sound calm. "Yes, sweetheart. Kumain." She stepped inside, wrapped in her blanket, her hair messy from sleep. She stood close to me like she used to when she was little and afraid of thunderstorms. "Why are you crying?" she whispered. I hesitated, but something told me to be honest. "I found something," I said quietly. "From your father." Her eyes softened. She came and sat beside me on the bed. "Mom, I need to tell you something too," she said. Her voice changed. Calmer. Steady in a way that surprised me. "What is it?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. "I lied to you earlier." I felt my heart shift in my chest. She let out a slow breath. The box. It wasn't left at the cafe. Ist her. The room suddenly felt colder. Then where did it come from? She swallowed. It came from someone Dad knew. Someone who said he needed you to get it tonight. My voice barely came out. "Who?" She shook her head. "I don't know his real name. He didn't say. He only said he promised Dad that when the time was right, this box should be sent to you. And tonight was the time." I felt the world steady and unsteady at the same time. "Why tonight?" I whispered. My daughter hesitated. Then she said something that made my hands go cold. "Because he said someone else is coming to talk to you tomorrow. And you need to know the truth before they arrive." I stared at her, my heart pounding like slow thunder. "Who is coming?" I asked. She looked straight into my eyes. And whispered, "Dad's brother." I froze. My husband's brother. The man who had not spoken to us in years. The man who disappeared from our lives long before my husband got sick. The man my husband had said he never wanted to see again. Why would he be coming now? What truth? I whispered, but my daughter only shook her head helplessly. "He didn't tell me. He just said that everything will make sense soon." The room felt too quiet, too heavy, too full of things unspoken. My daughter placed her hand on mine. "Mom, are you scared?" I looked at her. In her eyes, I saw something I had not seen in a long time. Concern. Real concern. Not frustration. Not tiredness. Concern. "A little," I admitted. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Me too." For a moment, we just stayed like that, sharing the silence. Then she said softly, "Mom, can I sleep here tonight?" I closed my eyes, and something warm spread through my chest. "Yes," I whispered. "Stay with me." She lay beside me, and I covered her with my blanket. Her breathing softened soon, steady in peace. But I stayed awake, holding the tiny note from my husband, staring at the ring, and listening to the quiet night. My husband wanted me to forgive someone. My husband wanted me to remember something. My husband knew someone would come. And tomorrow, his brother was arriving. As the first hint of dawn touched the window, I finally whispered into the quiet. What did you hide from me, my love? Morning came quietly. I did not sleep, but I watched my daughter sleep beside me, her face peaceful in a way I had not seen in years, maybe even before her father died. For a moment, the room felt gentle again, like the world had paused. But as the sunlight grew stronger, reality settled in. Today, my husband's brother was coming. The man he had cut out of his life. The man he had once asked me to never contact. The man whose name brought shadows into my husband's eyes whenever it was mentioned. I rose slowly to avoid waking my daughter and walked to the kitchen. The house was unusually still. No kettle boiling. No radio playing. Just a quiet that seemed to wait with me. I made tea, 1 cup for myself, and another for whoever was going to walk through my door today. Even though I did not know if I wanted him here, hospitality had been part of me long before my husband left this world. As I held the warm cup, I looked again at the wedding ring resting on the table. It caught the morning light, a gentle glimmer that made my chest ache. Why had he sent it back to me? Or worse, who had removed it from him? I folded the small note again and slipped it into my pocket. Forgive them. Take care of our daughter. I never left you. His handwriting. Soft. Familiar. Almost like he had whispered the words while writing. I stood by the window, watching the empty street. Waiting. Around mid-morning, my daughter walked into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. And the house answered with silence. Is he here yet? She asked softly. Not yet, I said. She hesitated, then came close to me. Mom, whatever happens, can we stay calm? Her words touched something inside me. Yes, I said gently. We can. We were washing the cups when we heard a car door close outside. My daughter froze. I felt my breath catch again. He was here. I wiped my hands on the towel and walked toward the door. My daughter stayed close behind me like a shadow. I opened it slowly, and there he was. My husband's brother. Older now. Thinner. Gray hair brushing the sides of his face. Eyes tired, but kind in a way I did not expect. He removed his cap and held it against his chest. Hello, he said in a soft voice I barely recognized. May I come in? I stepped aside and nodded. He walked in quietly, almost respectfully, like he knew his presence carried weight. My daughter stood at the kitchen doorway, watching. He glanced at her, then at the ring on the table. I guess you received it, he said. My throat tightened. Yes, I replied. Last night. A long pause wrapped the room. Then he sighed, lowering himself into a chair. There's something I need to tell you, he began. Something my brother wanted you to know, but never had the strength to say. My hands trembled slightly. What is it? I asked. He looked at the floor for a moment, gathering himself before he spoke again. My brother, your husband, wasn't angry with me. Not in the end. He was protecting you. I blinked, confused. Protecting me? From what? He looked up, his eyes filled with regret. From the truth. Silence. Heavy. Deep. My daughter sat down across from him. Her hands clenched together. What truth? She asked. He took a breath that sounded like it hurt. Your husband didn't stop speaking to me because we fought. He stopped speaking to me because I knew something he didn't want you to find out. My heart began to race, slowly, painfully. What did you know? I whispered. He looked at me with a softness I didn't expect. He was sick long before he told you, he said. More than a year before he let you know. My breath caught. My hands went cold. That's not true, I whispered. He told me the moment he found out. No, the brother interrupted gently. He didn't. He knew a year earlier, and he made me promise not to tell you. I stared at him, disbelief folding into my chest like a heavy blanket. Why would my husband do that? Why would he hide something so important? My daughter's voice trembled. Why? She asked softly. The brother's eyes softened. He wanted to protect you both, he said. He wanted to enjoy one last year of normal family life without fear, without hospital visits, without sorrow. He wanted to live without being seen as a dying man. My tears began to fall, soft, quiet tears that felt like they had been building for months. He continued, his voice gentle. He made me promise I wouldn't come near your home, because he knew if you saw me, you'd know something was wrong. He never kept me away out of anger. He did it out of love. I pressed my hands to my mouth, trying to steady my breath. My husband had been carrying this alone for a year. My heart ached in a way that felt new. The brother then took something out of his bag, a small envelope. He wrote one more letter for you, he said. He wanted you to read it only after he passed. But somehow this. He pointed to the midnight box. This reached you first. He handed me the envelope. It had my name on it. My husband's handwriting again. Soft, gentle, familiar. My fingers shook as I touched it. The brother spoke once more. He wanted to give you time. To prepare. To heal. He hoped this letter would help you understand why he hid the truth, and why he left you the ring. I looked at the envelope. My daughter took my hand, and in a voice barely above a whisper she said, Mom read it. I nodded slowly, my breath unsteady, my heart trembling. I opened the envelope, and I pulled out the letter, my husband's final words to me. As I unfolded the paper, the house fell completely silent. The sunlight rested gently on the table. My daughter held my hand tighter, and I read the first line. My love, I wanted to tell you this 1,000 times. I held the letter with both hands. The paper trembled gently, not because of the breeze, but because my fingers were shaking. My daughter sat beside me, quiet and steady. My husband's brother sat across the table, his face lowered, as if giving us privacy even while being present. Slowly, carefully, I unfolded the letter, and I saw his handwriting again. Soft strokes, neat lines, the way he wrote my name when he wanted to be tender. I took a deep breath and read, My love, I wanted to tell you this 1,000 times. My eyes blurred almost instantly. I blinked, wiped them gently, and kept reading. I knew about my illness long before you did. The doctor told me 1 year earlier. I hid it from you, not because I did not trust you, but because I wanted one last year of peace with you. My chest tightened. Peace. He wanted peace. He didn't want fear or long hospital nights or quiet tears in the bathroom while he slept. He wanted a year where we still laughed like nothing was wrong. I kept reading. I watched you every day. I watched you cook, clean, laugh, worry. And I could not bring myself to break your heart sooner than necessary. A tear fell on the letter. I quickly wiped it so it wouldn't smear the ink. My daughter shifted closer to me, her hand brushing mine gently. I know this decision might hurt you now, and I am sorry. I was weak in my fear of hurting you, but stronger in my love for you. I closed my eyes for a moment. Those words, they felt like him. Quiet, honest, soft. I left my ring for you because I want you to feel me near you. Every time you think you are alone. I never took it off, not even toward the end. I asked someone I trusted to keep it safe, until the right moment for you to have it back. I looked at the ring on the table. It sat there like a small piece of him, warm, familiar, still shining. I touched it gently. His brother waited, respectful and still. I continued. Forgive me for hiding the truth. Forgive my brother, too. He kept the promise I made him swear on. He did only what I asked. My husband's brother lowered his head, his shoulders trembling slightly. He had carried a secret for years. A heavy one. And he had carried it alone. I read the next line slowly, feeling each one settle inside me. Take care of our daughter. She will need your strength. She will grow, she will change. and she will come back to you when she learns what real love means." I looked at my daughter. Her eyes were full, her lips trembling. She whispered, "Mom, I am sorry." I squeezed her hand, and we cried together in silence for a moment. Then I looked back at the letter. "My love, if you ever feel lost, look into the things we shared. The home, the memories, the quiet mornings, the smell of tea at sunrise. I will be there. Not gone, just everywhere else you look." I covered my mouth as a soft sob escaped me. It didn't hurt like it used to. It hurt in a gentler way, like something breaking and healing at the same time. I turned the page to the final lines. "When the time is right, open yourself to life again, to love again, even if it feels impossible. I want you to be happy, not lonely, not stuck in the shadow of my absence." My daughter leaned her head on my shoulder. The brother wiped his eyes discreetly. I exhaled shakily and read the last sentence. "And remember, my love, I never left you. I only went ahead." I pressed the letter to my chest and closed my eyes. There was no music, no dramatic noise, just the quiet sound of my breath breaking and mending. My daughter hugged me, her arms wrapped around me slowly, gently, almost shyly. "Mom, I didn't understand before," she whispered. "Why you were hurting, why you were distant, why you cried at night. I didn't know." Her voice cracked. "I'm sorry I didn't see you. I see you now." I held her tightly. My daughter's warmth felt like a second sunrise in that quiet room. Then my husband's brother spoke for the first time in minutes. "He wanted you to read that when your heart was ready," he said softly. "He said you always loved deeply, and that you would need to heal gently." I wiped my face and looked at him. "Thank you," I whispered, "for keeping his promise." He nodded. We sat together in silence. A silence that no longer felt heavy. It felt full, rich with truth, rich with love that had been hidden, and now suddenly revealed in the warm light of morning. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm. "What now?" I asked. My daughter squeezed my arm, and my husband's brother looked at the ring and said quietly, "Now you live, the way he wanted you to." I looked down at the ring. His ring. My fingers trembled as I picked it up gently. I placed it against my heart, and for the first time in a long time, I felt him, not as a memory, not as a loss, but as a presence. A warm one, a quiet one that had never left. The days after that morning felt like walking into sunlight after months of gray clouds. The truth had come. The letters had been read. The secret had been unveiled. And yet, for all the answers, the house still felt like a home carrying his presence softly, gently, like the smell of tea in the kitchen or the warmth of the sunlight on the sofa. My daughter and I settled into a rhythm again. We laughed more easily. We cried less in silence. We spoke openly, sharing thoughts and feelings that had been buried under grief for too long. For the first time, she understood my tears. And for the first time, I understood how strong she had grown in the shadows of my sorrow. A connection renewed. One morning, we went through Daniel's belongings together. We handled the photographs, the letters, the small notes he had written over the years. And in doing so, we found ourselves smiling, soft, gentle smiles that felt like forgiveness. The weight of unspoken pain slowly lifted as we shared stories about him, retelling memories in our own voices. "This was his favorite mug," my daughter said, holding a chipped cup. "I remember him drinking tea from it every morning," I replied. And in that small moment, the house felt alive again. We spoke about the past openly now, not with anger, not with regret, but with understanding. Daniel's brother visited once more. This time, not to deliver secrets or messages, but to sit quietly with us. He shared stories from Daniel's youth. We laughed softly, sometimes with tears running down our cheeks. It was a strange, gentle peace. The kind that comes when a weight you didn't even fully know you were carrying is finally put down. The ring. I placed Daniel's ring back on the dresser, in a special box, next to his letters. Every time I looked at it, I felt him near. I no longer feared the memories. Instead, I felt gratitude. For his love, for his care, for every quiet, peaceful moment we had shared. And when my daughter asked if she could hold it, I let her. Not because it belonged to her, but because it connected her to him in a small, tangible way. She smiled softly as she held it, and I felt a warmth spread through my chest. Daniel had left a gift beyond the ring. He had left us trust, love, and the courage to continue living, forgiveness and understanding. I thought about Sarah, his niece, and the family tension that had clouded our last months with him. I realized now that some misunderstandings are not meant to be fought over, but to be understood. I forgave her quietly in my heart. Not because she asked for forgiveness, but because holding on to anger would only weigh me down. And with that forgiveness came a lightness I hadn't felt in months. A new beginning. Weeks passed, and life began to settle. The mornings were quiet, soft. The afternoons were full of sunlight in the garden. And evenings carried the gentle hum of memories that made us smile instead of ache. I started writing again, little notes, small stories, memories of Daniel, of our life together. My daughter joined me sometimes, and we laughed softly over the silly things we remembered. It felt like reclaiming life, one gentle moment at a time. We kept Daniel's letters in a special box by the window. And sometimes, just sometimes, I would open the box and read a line or two aloud. And it felt like he was there with us, soft and quiet, holding our hands in his invisible way. The lesson. The hardest truth of all was also the simplest. Love is not only about holding on. It is also about letting go. Letting go of grief. Letting go of secrets. Letting go of fear. And in letting go, there is peace. Daniel had taught me this, even in his absence. He had left us guidance not with words shouted, but with whispers in letters, objects, and memories. We learned to live again. Not to forget him, but to carry him gently in our hearts. Final reflection. One evening, as the sun set softly, painting the walls golden, I held my daughter's hand and looked around our home. Everything felt calm. Everything felt right. "Mom," she whispered, "do you think he's really gone?" I smiled softly, a tear running down my cheek. "No, sweetheart," I said. "He's everywhere. In the sunlight, in our memories, in this home, and in our hearts. He never really left us." We watched the sun disappear behind the hills, and I felt the warmth of love, of forgiveness, and of life itself. Life was not perfect. It never is. But it was ours again. Gentle, soft, and full of hope. And as I looked at the quiet house, at the small objects that held his presence, I whispered softly into the evening air, "Thank you, Daniel, for everything." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.